Jealousy followed my sister from the day I was born, but I never thought it would end with her in my house and in my husband's arms. Blood didn't protect me. Love didn't protect me. And beauty became the weapon my own sister used against my marriage. What would you do if the jealousy your sister carried since childhood followed her into your marriage? Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also do not forget to comment where you are watching from. In the city of Port Harcourt, there was a family with two beautiful daughters. Their parents were not rich, but they had love and hope. The father worked hard in the city, and the mother sold small items in the market. They raised their children with care and strict rules. The first daughter was Blessing. When she was born, her parents were happy. Blessing was strong and responsible. She did well in school and helped her mother in the market. She listened to her parents and always tried to do the right thing. Then, 2 years later, Ruth was born. From the day Ruth came, everything changed. People started saying things like, "She is so beautiful. She has the sweetest face. Look at her eyes." Even strangers would come to the house just to see the baby. They would hold Ruth and praise her. Blessing watched all of this quietly. At first, she was happy. She wanted to love her sister. But the more people praised Ruth, the more Blessing felt invisible. As the girls grew older, the difference became bigger. Ruth was naturally pretty. She had smooth skin and a bright smile. People loved her easily. Teachers praised her. Neighbors praised her. Even elders in church would call her our beautiful child. Blessing was different. She was not ugly, but people did not praise her like they praised Ruth. She worked hard, but no one noticed. When she helped in the market, customers ignored her. When she sang in church, people clapped for Ruth instead. Blessing felt like she was always living in Ruth's shadow. Their parents did not mean to hurt Blessing. They loved both daughters, but they did not hide their feelings. When money was tight, Ruth's needs came first. When there was only one dress left, Ruth got it. When there was only one plate of food, Ruth ate first. The parents always said Ruth was the special child. The neighbors also praised Ruth openly. Ruth is going to marry a rich man, they said. Ruth will become famous one day. Blessing heard these words every day. It felt like the world had already chosen Ruth and left her behind. Blessing grew up with jealousy in her heart. She did not understand why she was never enough. She did not understand why Ruth always got everything. One day, Blessing asked her mother, "Why do you love Ruth more than me?" Her mother cried and said, "My child, I love you both. But Ruth is delicate. She needs more care." That answer did not satisfy Blessing. It only made her feel more hurt. Time passed, and the sisters grew up. Blessing tried to be strong. She tried to prove she was better. She got good grades in school. She worked hard. But still, Ruth was the one praised. Then tragedy struck. When Ruth was 20 years old and Blessing was 22, their parents died in a sudden accident. The news was like a heavy thunderstorm. The sisters could not believe it. Their parents were gone in a moment. No more advice. No more protection. No more love from the people who raised them. They were left alone. At first, Blessing felt empty. She cried and cried. But after the first shock, reality hit. There was no money. No family support. The house was old and needed repairs. The sisters had no one to help them. They had to depend on each other. Ruth tried to stay strong, even though she was hurting too. She started working day and night. She sold snacks in the market. She washed clothes. She took small jobs at people's houses. Blessing also tried to work, but she did not succeed. She was not lucky. She kept failing at jobs and losing money. She became angry at life. She became angry at Ruth. Ruth was the only one who kept the house alive. She paid the rent. She bought food. She paid for the small bills. She did everything. Blessing felt trapped. She depended on Ruth, but she hated her for it. The town people still praised Ruth. They said, "Ruth is strong. She is responsible. She will become something big." Blessing heard this and her heart burned. One evening, Blessing sat outside the house and watched Ruth returning from work. Ruth looked tired but happy. She smiled at Blessing and said, "We will be okay. I promise." Blessing smiled too, but her smile was not real. Inside, she was full of pain and jealousy. "You always promise," Blessing thought. "But you always get everything." She wanted what Ruth had. She wanted love, respect, and wealth. She wanted to be the one people praised. But she couldn't get any of that. And that hurt her so much. A few months later, Ruth met a man named Michel. Michel was not poor. He was a successful businessman. He was tall, confident, and charming. He lived in Lagos and traveled often for business. When he first saw Ruth, he was attracted to her kindness and calm nature. Michel started talking to Ruth. He asked her about her life. He listened to her stories. Ruth felt safe with him. She felt like she finally found someone who cared. When Ruth told Blessing about Michel, Blessing smiled, but her smile was not kind. She pretended to be happy, but inside she was planning. Blessing watched how Michel treated Ruth. She watched how he looked at her. She watched how he paid attention to her. She felt something dangerous in her heart. Michel was different from the men she had known. He did not judge her for being poor. He did not treat her like she was a burden. Instead, he treated her like a queen. He came to visit the sisters often. He would bring small gifts, food, and sometimes money. He would sit and listen to Ruth talk about her dreams. He would smile when she laughed. He would look at her with respect and admiration. Ruth started to feel like she had finally found someone who truly cared for her. She started to believe that her life was changing for good. Blessing noticed how happy Ruth had become. She watched them together, and her heart felt like it was breaking again. She felt that Ruth was getting everything she had always wanted. One day, Ruth told Blessing, "Michel and I are getting close. He has been so kind. He says he wants to take care of me." Blessing smiled and said, "That is good, Ruth. You deserve happiness." But Blessing did not mean it. She was smiling only because she wanted Ruth to trust her. She wanted Ruth to believe that she was supportive. She wanted Ruth to lower her guard. Blessing thought, if she marries him, she will leave me forever. That was the moment the story began to change. Blessing began to watch Michel closely. She listened when he talked. She watched how he looked at Ruth. She started to think about how she could get what Ruth had. As the days went by, Michel's love for Ruth became stronger. He began to talk about the future. He talked about a life of comfort, respect, and stability. He talked about a home in Lagos and a family that would be proud of Ruth. Ruth was happy and excited. She could not believe her luck. She thought, after everything, God has finally blessed me. Then one evening, Michel invited Ruth to his house in Lagos. He asked her to come alone. Ruth was nervous, but she went. When she arrived, Michel took her to a quiet garden behind his mansion. The garden was full of flowers and lights. It looked like a dream. Ruth felt her heart beat fast. Michel took her hands and looked into her eyes. He said, "Ruth, I have never met a woman like you. You are kind, strong, and beautiful inside. I want to spend my life with you." Ruth's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Michel, I don't know what to say." Michel continued, "Ruth, will you marry me?" Ruth's heart jumped. She said, "Yes. Yes, I will marry you." Michel smiled and hugged her. Ruth felt like she was floating. She was happy. She felt like all her pain was finally leaving her body. When Ruth returned to the old house, she ran to Blessing and shouted, "Blessing, Michel proposed. He wants to marry me." Blessing acted surprised. She hugged Ruth and said, "Oh my God, Ruth. That is amazing. I am so happy for you." But inside, Blessing was already planning how she could take everything from Ruth. Blessing knew that once Ruth married Michel, she would move into his mansion. She would leave the old house forever. Blessing would be left alone again. That thought made her angry. Still, Blessing pretended to be supportive. She said, "I am happy for you. You deserve this." Ruth was excited. She started planning the wedding. She talked about dresses, food, and music. She was full of joy. Michel also began to prepare for the wedding. He bought gifts for Ruth. He told her he wanted to give her the best life possible. He told her he loved her and would never leave her. The wedding day arrived. It was a big event. People came from far and near. The church was filled with family and friends. Everyone was smiling and praying for Ruth. People said, "She has finally become lucky." Ruth wore a beautiful white dress. Her hair was done perfectly. She looked like a princess. Michel stood beside her, looking handsome and proud. Blessing stood beside Ruth as her sister. She smiled for the cameras and acted like she was happy. But her heart was empty. When Ruth walked down the aisle, Blessing felt a sharp pain in her chest. She saw Michel's eyes shining with love. She saw Ruth's face glowing with happiness. She felt like her life was being taken away. As the pastor said the words, "Do you take this woman to be your wife?" Michel answered, "Yes." When the pastor asked Ruth, she said, "Yes, I do." Then the pastor said, "You may now kiss the bride." Michel kissed Ruth, and everyone clapped. It was a happy moment. After the wedding, Ruth moved into Michel's mansion in Lagos. The mansion was beautiful and large. It had many rooms, a big living room, a garden, and a swimming pool. Ruth could not believe she was living in such a place. Michel treated Ruth like a queen. He gave her everything she needed. He gave her respect, love, and security. Ruth called Blessing and said, "Come to Lagos. Come live with me. We are a family." Blessing hesitated. She wanted to be close to Ruth, but she also wanted to plan her revenge. She finally said, "Okay. I will come later." Ruth felt happy, but also sad. She missed her sister. She hoped Blessing would come soon. When Ruth was alone in the mansion, she looked at her new life and felt thankful. She thought about how her life had changed. She thought about her parents and how they would have been proud. She prayed for her sister to get married to a good man and be happy too. But she did not know that Blessing was already planning something dangerous. Blessing was not going to stay behind. She was not going to watch Ruth live happily while she suffered. Blessing was ready to do anything. And that was the beginning of the next phase. After a few months of Ruth living in Michel's mansion, she continued to be happy, but she also missed Blessing. She missed the days when they were together in the old house. She missed the small moments of laughter. Ruth wanted Blessing to come and live with her. She wanted her sister to be part of her new life. She believed family was important. But Blessing did not feel the same. Blessing had been watching Ruth and Michelle from afar. She saw how Michelle treated Ruth with love and respect. She saw how Ruth's life had changed. She saw how people continued to praise Ruth. And she hated it. Blessing felt abandoned. She felt like Ruth had left her behind. She felt like Ruth was no longer her sister. Ruth was now a wife living in a mansion. One day, Blessing called Ruth. "Ruth," she said, "I need help." Ruth was surprised. "What is it, my sister?" she asked. Blessing's voice sounded weak and tired. "Our only surviving auntie in the village is sick. She needs surgery. She is alone. I must go take care of her." Ruth felt worried. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? I can help. I can come with you." Blessing replied quickly, "No, Ruth. You don't need to come. I will handle it. I just need to go to the village and take her to the hospital. It's something I must do." Ruth was silent for a moment. She trusted her sister. She believed Blessing was telling the truth. She said, "Okay. But you must be safe. I will send you money." Blessing's voice became serious. "I need 4 million Nigerian nairas." Ruth was shocked. 4 million? That is a lot of money. Blessing's voice turned emotional. "Ruth, our auntie needs surgery. The hospital will not treat her without money. I also need transport and clothes for the village. Please, Ruth. I am begging you." Ruth was still worried, but she loved her sister. She said, "Okay. I will send the money." Ruth did not have that much money, but she found a way. She asked Michelle for help. Michelle did not question her. He trusted Ruth. He gave her the money. Ruth sent Blessing the 4 million Nigerian nairas. Blessing thanked her and ended the call. But Ruth did not know the truth. Blessing did not go to the village. She did not go to care for their aunt. She did not go to help anyone. Blessing used the money to travel to the Dominican Republic. She went there to change her body. She went there for a BBL surgery. The surgery was dangerous. The clinic was expensive. The doctors were serious. Blessing knew she was taking a risk, but she did not care. She believed that beauty was the key to everything. She believed that if she became beautiful, she could take Michelle away from Ruth. Blessing spent days in the clinic. She went through pain and fear. She was scared, but she continued because her jealousy was stronger than her fear. After the surgery, Blessing looked at her body in the mirror. She saw a new woman. Her hips were larger. Her waist was smaller. Her body was now what she always wanted. She smiled for the first time in years. "Now," she whispered, "I am ready." After weeks of rest, Blessing returned to Nigeria. When she arrived, she went directly to Ruth's mansion. Ruth was in the living room, arranging baby clothes. She was excited and nervous. She was going to be a mother soon. Her heart was full of joy. When Blessing entered the house, Ruth was surprised. "Blessing!" Ruth shouted. "You're back. Thank God." Ruth ran to hug her sister. But when she saw Blessing's body, her eyes widened. "Blessing, what happened to your body? What did you do?" Ruth asked. Blessing smiled and said, "It's just village food, Ruth. The village food made me look like this. I have been eating special food. Ruth tried to convince herself to believe her. She smiled and nodded. But inside, she felt skeptical. Something did not feel right. But she chose to trust her sister. Then Ruth took a deep breath and said, "Blessing, I have something to tell you." Blessing's eyes sharpened. She pretended to be calm. "What is it?" Ruth looked at her sister and said, "I am pregnant." Blessing froze for a moment. Her heart beat faster. She had planned to take everything from Ruth, but now Ruth was going to have a baby. That meant Ruth would become even more loved. That meant Ruth would be harder to take away. Blessing smiled and hugged Ruth. She acted happy. But inside, she was planning again. After a few minutes, Blessing said, "Ruth, I have been thinking. Can I stay with you for a while? I want to help you with the pregnancy. I can cook, clean, and take care of you." Ruth felt relieved. She said, "Yes, of course. I would love for you to stay. I have been praying for you to come stay with us." One evening, while Ruth and Blessing were talking and having lunch on the dining together, Blessing paused for a moment, and then she spoke again. Her voice became soft and careful. "Ruth," she said, "I need to tell you something. Watch out for the next part of the story. Because the next episode would show you the true darkness of Blessing's jealousy."